Hi there, everybody. So today I wanted to give you another admonishment to get a dash cam. I happen to have a dash cam in all of my cars, including, of course, the Tesla here, which has a front and back camera, which came in very handy when we were rear-ended last summer because, of course, the rear camera view showed exactly what happened and showed that the van that had been behind us had come to a full stop and sat there for about 3-4 seconds before ramming the back of the car. But I really think for most situations your front dash cam will be plenty, and I captured an accident this weekend while driving my Subaru, and my wife was actually in the Tesla, and you can see it in the dash cam video from the Subaru because she's like one car ahead of me, and the car that was in between us pulls out of a shopping center and T-bones a minivan. That video is on my YouTube channel. Somewhere else you can find it. There's a dash cam playlist and it's mixed in with there. I also uploaded a couple other clips that I'd been sitting on that were just random people doing dumb things or whatever. But I wanted to encourage everyone again to get a dash cam. The one that was in the Subaru is about $65-70. It's a ROAV by Anker, A-N-K-E-R. It's a C1. It's a perfectly great camera. It's an incredible value. There are a couple competitors that are basically the same price, the same form factor, everything. I have a ThinkWare in the Tesla, which is the front and back, which of course is much better cameras, but it's $400 or $300 depending on where you find it. So it's a lot more. I don't know if it's worth that much more other than having the back camera. I mean, you could buy 2 of the regular cameras and just run them independently. It would be a lot easier from a wiring standpoint, quite frankly. What I would recommend is that you don't get the dangly kind. In my Subaru Baja, I have one that basically looks like a smartphone, just like on a suction cup sticking against the windshield, and I don't like those. They kind of bounce around. It's real hard to hide them behind the rear view mirror. I don't recommend that at all. So go ahead, look up the ROAV. You'll see some other competitors on there. I think one is called like a Rexy or something, but they're a very similar style as to what the ThinkWare is, in that it's a lens and it sits flat against the windshield, kind of like an Easy Pass transponder, except it has a lens that can pivot. And those are great. They hide completely behind the rearview mirror. You don't even know they're there. And for $60-70, you will be happy all day long that you have it if you are in an accident, or hey, maybe you catch one and you throw it up on YouTube, maybe make a buck or two. Not that YouTube's paying anybody anymore. So that was the first thing I wanted to get off. I wanted to clear the air on that. But the other thing I was going to talk about, since I'm not home yet, is somebody had asked me on Twitter, or I don't remember how, I posted a video of a Model 3 that I saw. It was the first one I'd seen out in the wild. Of course, I saw one at the event we had at the service center, I guess about a month ago now. And that was really cool to be able to climb around in it and everything. But the one that I saw on the road the other day for the first time was reminded me of other times when you see a car for the first time. And specifically on Twitter, the conversation was, well, when's the first time you saw another Tesla? And what was, how did that go? So everybody's like slowing down to below the speed limit because there's a state trooper sitting back there. Okay, he can't really pull you over for going too slow unless you box everybody in. All right. So we'll tell my own little story. Obviously, I've been aware of Tesla for a very long time. The first Tesla I saw was a Roadster, and it was while on vacation with the family, and we were in Ocean City, Maryland, because that was a good place to go when the kids were really young, and we needed a vacation that, quite frankly, was just really easy on the brain. And so we'd go to the beach for a week and just lounge around and stuff like that. We tended to go to Sea Colony, but then we switched over to Ocean City when my parents, because they like the big fancy hotels and stuff like that, so it's fine. We did that, and we would walk the boardwalk. And one morning we were out walking on the boardwalk, or I think it was in the morning, probably around lunchtime or something like that. And there was a Tesla Roadster kind of nestled down in the end space closest to the boardwalk itself. I don't think that there was a specialized sign indicating it was any kind of a charging space or anything like that. It could have been. I don't know that I was really looking for that at the time, but I knew that it wasn't a Lotus. And it was a Tesla Roadster, and it was kind of this silvery blue metallic, like a very, very light blue metallic, and pretty color. And I think the interior was black, but I'm not positive. Somewhere I have a picture of it. If I find it, I'll throw it on my Twitter feed when I find it. So that was the first one I saw, and I thought it was kind of cool, but I didn't think too much of it. I mean, Tesla Roadsters were not family vehicles, wasn't anything I was in the market for, so it was just kind of interesting to see in that it was an unusual car at that time. I would guess that was sometime around 2010 maybe, so they would have been maybe even sooner. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look. I'll see when I get the picture what it was. First Model S that I saw was actually on a truckload of Model S's that was going eastbound when we were going westbound to Chicago on a family road trip. That would have been in the summer of 2013. And that's on my blog. If you go all the way back to, I think, like the first or second entry on my blog at teslapittsburgh.com, you'll find the account of that. And so 2 trucks went the other way, but you can't really see anything on a truck. And I actually don't have any pictures of the trucks because I didn't have any dash cams or anything back then. They weren't really cheap enough to do for regular folk like me. And so while we were in Chicago, of course it was in my head, hey, I just saw 2 truckloads of these things. There must be more of them around, right? So while we were in Chicago, I happened to be looking across the street in front of a fancy hotel, and I saw a white P85. At least I think it was a P85, based on the way the configurations were done back then. And I was on the other side of the street, and that was the first one that I really saw. And there's a picture of that one on my blog where I mentioned. The first Model X that I saw was actually courtesy of a doctor here in Pittsburgh who also has, I would assume, one of the first one of the Roadsters. I think he has an S, but I'm not positive. Anyway, he had just taken delivery of his signature Model X and was nice enough to display it for all of the owners and people who are interested in the area. And it was hosted by a solar installation company called Atom Solar Resources. And they had a kind of a reception down at their warehouse, I guess the warehouse section of their business. And a lot of Teslas were there. It was kind of like an unofficial gathering of all the Tesla owners. I guess it was official, but not as owners. And a lot of Tesla staff were there because they hadn't seen the X either. So he had a signature red Model X, and we got to play with it. It was basically do whatever you want, and those doors were up and down, up and down, up and down the whole time. People playing with the seats and all of that. And he also had his Roadster there, which was, I believe, also like a signature red color. I love that color. It's a beautiful color. And while we're on the subject of signature red, of course, I always had a soft spot for signature red Model S's, and oddly enough, I've actually only ever seen a Model S in signature red one time, and that was after we took delivery of our car. We were on a road trip, and we had gone to the Delaware superchargers. And while we were, I think just coming out of that, I saw one go by the other way. So we didn't actually see it at the charger. I saw it going the other way, but it was a bright sunny day, kind of like today, and it just caught the eye and just glinted in the sun as we went by. And that was it. That's the only time I've seen a signature red Model S. And it was beautiful. So hopefully I see another one. For a while we kind of entertained picking one up as a CPO to go along with this car. And back when they first started the CPO program, they had a number of signature red Model S's that were in the program, and they were still doing full 8-year warranties and everything on them. At some point they discontinued that, and I think you might have been lucky to get one with a 2-year warranty. But I figured if we were going to get a Sig Red S, the one I really wanted to get would be one that had the white interior, because that was something that only the signatures had. So it would kind of like be doubling down on, not that we're keeping it anything as collector cars, but it'd be kind of doubling down on the rarity of having a Sig Red S with a white leather interior. And my wife kidded me about that a number of times when I would find one, and I'd be like, look, here's another one. Looks pretty good, right? And she would kind of goad me on a little bit. And a couple times she goaded me on close enough that I was getting really right on the edge of getting it. And she's like, oh, no, don't really mean it. So we have a Subaru instead, Outback. But probably just as well. I don't know if I'm really comfortable with the signature cars having some of their issues that they have, being the oldest version of the S. I think we're kind of in a good spot right here with this car. Like We don't have any of the screen lag issues that people with autopilot cars complain about. I think that this car handles really well with the processor it has because it doesn't have all that other stuff to do. And yeah. So anyway, those are the first Teslas that I saw. And sure, go ahead, write me in the comments your first experiences seeing the Roadster or the S or the X and what you thought. And please hit the red button down there, subscribe. Greatly would appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Bye.